What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm your co-host Donovan Quick. And look, all offseason we've heard the talk about the culture change within the Miami Dolphins through the reporters, through the players. They say it feels different. They feel like a tougher team this year, a better team this year, that they're more cohesive. And we knew that that was one of the game plans going into this offseason, was to get rid of some of the bad apples. They said that 4 or 5 players accumulated half of the fines last year. At the end of last year, they said that they had problems with players being always late to meetings and practices, and they would fine them, but fining them just wasn't enough to get them in the building. Now, when finding, a rotational player, if you're finding a rotational player and they're still constantly late, you're just going to cut them. That just is what it is. But if you're finding players and they're continually doing it and they don't care, that means that they're one of the upper echelon players and one of your starters and one of your higher paid players, such as Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. You have other ones up there as well. Jordan Poyer, Javon Holland. That some of those players were the ones that were involved in being late and not really caring about the team. Jordan Poyer literally just said in an interview that meanwhile he was here in Miami, he was paying attention about what was going on in Buffalo, because he spent his entire career in Buffalo and he still feels like he's a part of that Buffalo team. So, even though he lives in Miami most of the time, he does have a good relationship with Tua. He didn't respect the team. And that also came from, he said it when he first got here, that the Bills don't really respect the Dolphins' toughness, that they feel like this is an easier game going in. And the Dolphins are trying to change that. They've gotten rid of a lot of these guys. And it's evident through who they've picked as their captains. Now, look, I think we got rid of most of all the players that were the problem children in the Dolphins organization, except for one, that being Tyreek Hill. But with the 2025 captains announced, the last 2 years Tyreek Hill was a captain. This year he's not. That means that, Tua said in a press conference earlier this offseason that they're still working on their relationship with Tyreek, and that he has to show up every day and show that he's committed to this team. And they didn't choose him as a captain, which means that they still are holding him accountable and making him prove his actions. That is not something that, a captain should be doing. That is something that captains do to other players. So Tyreek Hill not being one of those captains, pretty evident that the players have that accountability and that control of the locker room once again. And honestly, there's only 3 players on the captain's list this year that were on the captain's list last year, and that's Tua, Zach Sealer, and Alec Ingold. Alec Ingold, he's that glue guy. Everybody likes him. He's a locker room guy. Everybody respects him. Now, I know, at least for myself, I see him more as like a flexible roster guy. He's often injured. When he's on the field, he does some things well, but then you also are like, dang, like why is he getting crushed when he's a fullback, or why is he dropping these wide open passes? And that kind of like gets your mind turning as to why is this guy on this 53-man roster. But it's mostly because of his locker room ability, and he does make those great plays every once in a while where he goes in and just absolutely manhandles someone and opens up a hole for a running back, or with his outside zone blocking, which this is an outside zone running scheme. He takes care of business out there, and he's very flexible with how you can use him. So hence why he's still on the team. Tua and Zach Sealer are pretty self-explanatory. Zach Sealer, from what I understand, has been a little bit more vocal this offseason than he was in the past off seasons. Tua, I mean, we heard it all last year that he was being much more vocal, and now you kind of see with how he's handling the press, how he's being more vocal with the press as well. And let's go through some of the names that were captains last year. Only one of them is still on the team that is not a captain this year. Tyreek Hill is the only one that was a captain last year that's still on the team. David Long Jr. was cut halfway through the season, so we know that he was also one of those problem children, as well as he just wasn't playing up to par for a starting inside linebacker. Jalen Ramsey, obviously, he was one of the problem children, and he was not leading by example, so he's gone. Teron Armstead, he retired, and Calais Campbell, the Dolphins made a contract offer to him, but he went back home to the Arizona Cardinals, the team that drafted him. So, it just is what it is as far as that goes. But those last two, those guys were very upstanding guys, and you actually see Teron Armstead still with this team quite often. He spends a lot of time with them at the facility, helping out the coaches and coaching up Patrick Paul and Jonah, and he's there with Austin Jackson and Aaron Brewer. And honestly, so you're kind of replacing Teron Armstead with Aaron Brewer, and Aaron Brewer is by far right now your best offensive lineman. I like that a lot, and he's been very vocal this offseason as well, so I really like that. And he's been coaching up the young guys, so I like that a lot. Jordan Brooks, he literally got into a physical altercation because he was telling his teammates to practice harder. Like, he got into a physical altercation with his teammate because he was telling them to practice harder in a joint practice with the Bears, where they were knocking our guys on offense on their ass, and he's like, hey, you see that over there? We got to show them that they can't do that, and we're going to treat them the same way. And that's how that physical altercation went. Bradley Chubb, obviously, this is going to be, his third or fourth year on the team. He is a very solid piece. He didn't play at all last year. I believe he was a captain the year before that. He's also a great locker room guy. All the players love him. He actually has a good relationship with Tua, or his wife and Tua's wife has a good relationship. If you ever follow them on Instagram, they're always together. Bradley Chubb, Tua, always together. Same thing with Quentin Bell. So, but yeah, when you have those guys that have that type of relationship, and they're always hanging out and they're always doing stuff outside of the facility, you can see how that leadership, partnership kind of grows. And so you have, kind of the captain of the offense and the captain of the defense. And Bradley Chubb, leading by example. I mean, the dude took a massive pay cut. Now, given he still has a chance to earn his entire salary through incentives, but just to take away the guarantee that he's going to have that money and to turn it into incentive, to be able to do that as a player for a team, I really respect that, and I think the players do as well. And I think that is a huge reason why he's the captain. Other than that, you kind of see the culture change with the reports of after practice. More than half of the team, closer to 80% of the team, is staying after practice almost every single day, continuing to work and hone in their craft, and to have that leadership group be a part of that, to have, Tua and Waddle and Tyreek out there after practice working, Malik Washington, Nick Westbrook and Kene, out there working on offense, Patrick Paul, Jonah staying after practice working with Aaron Brewer and the rest of the offensive line, James Daniels, they're all staying after practice and wanting to work and work hard. I love it. I really do. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but it's really hard when all you're hearing from these guys. Now, look, I know we don't necessarily have the personnel in the secondary. I know we kind of have the questionable personnel on the offensive line. But Tua has proven that when he has a good offensive line and his receivers are healthy, he's going to light you up. We're going to have that strong running game. We're going to prove it to you on offense. So if that questionable offensive line can turn into a at least decent offensive line and stay healthy, I like that. I like that direction that offensive line is going, as opposed to how it was before, where we had a bunch of older guys that were often injured. And the signing of Kendall Lamb honestly reinforces the depth, and I love it. I love bringing Kendall Lamb back. I hated the fact that he left. I thought he was retiring. He said last year, one final season, came back, and then he signed with the Eagles this offseason. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, he got cut by the Eagles and came back home. So I love that signing for us. With the secondary, I actually really, really like Jason Marshall Jr. I think I might be getting ahead of myself here. I think he is a top 15 slot corner. I think he is an above average slot corner in this league already. Now, given I would love to see him play against actual starters and actual studs, but we'll see that as the season goes on. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. Hopefully I'm right. Hopefully I'm more than right. And he ends up being like how Nick Needham was when he played in the slot, his entire 2 years before he switched to outside corner because of Byron Jones' injury. Storm Duck, look, I like him, but I don't like him that much where I know that I'm going to say that he's like he's a starting corner in the league. Like, if you put him on probably 28 other teams, he's not a starter. Jack Jones, dude is so hot and cold. You hope you can get more hot moments out of him than cold moments. That's going to be the story with our secondary. It's going to be really interesting with the signing of Rasul Douglas. I drew a blank on his name for some odd reason. With Rasul Douglas, to see if he pushes either Storm Duck or Jack Jones. It kind of seems like Storm Duck is the CB1 right now, and he has that respect of his coaches and his teammates. And look, from what I hear in practice, the dude will literally, like, he sees Tyreek Hill, he sees Waddle, he'll want to go and do that one-on-one because iron sharpens iron. So I love seeing that from him and this team. Jack Jones kind of the same way, but he's a little bit more. He fishes for that big play a little too much, and that's how he gets burned a lot. So he has to play a tad bit more conservative. However, I think this defensive line is going to be bailing them out a lot. If you're going to be playing a lot of man-to-man coverage and you're going to be sending, 4, 5, 6 guys at the quarterback a lot, and I think we're going to be blitzing a lot. I mean, why wouldn't you? When your top 4 edge rushers have the resume that they do, Chop Robinson, the young gun that is an absolute terror. Jalen Phillips, when healthy, is one of the best edge rushers in the entire league. Bradley Chubb, when healthy, was on a 12-sack season, led the league. He actually led the league with 6 forced fumbles and missed the last 3 games of the season. So, like, you have that, and then you add Matthew Judon to that rotation. In the middle, you have Zach Sealer, who had 10 sacks back-to-back seasons. You have, you have Kenneth Grant. I wanted to say Kenneth Walker so bad. I don't know why. You have Kenneth Grant, first-round pick with an endless motor in the middle. Jordan Phillips, Benito Jones. Jordan Phillips, I believe, he's going to be a Pro Bowler one day. He is my Zach Sealer of the future. In 100% honesty, I think I like Jordan Phillips more than I like Kenneth Grant. I really do. I'm sorry. I do. I think I do. Benito Jones, he has always been, throughout his career, a great rotational guy. Obviously, he's not, starter worthy, which is why we went out and got Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips. And then you kind of dig a little deeper. Our depth is pretty good there as well, but it's mostly going to be those 8 guys that just rotate through that defensive line. And then on top of that, you have Jordan Brooks in the middle. Tyrell Dodson has been really good. Willie Gay is just been tremendous throughout this entire offseason, just continues to make play after play after play. So we love to see it. We love to see it. And it's going to be really interesting to see how, to me, whenever I think about this defense, I'm thinking about what we did to the Ravens back in 2023, or not 2023, 2022 on Thursday Night Football, where we just blitz the absolute living shit out of Lamar Jackson all night long. Like we had cover zero on how many plays? I think it was 40 plus snaps of cover zero. That is insane. And that's what I think this defense is going to look like all season long. I think it's just going to be max pressure, and you better get this ball out in less than 2 seconds, or you're going to die. Like that is going to be this defense. And with that, you're helping your corners out tremendously, and that's where we lack, is our secondary on our corners. I like Minka. Obviously, he's not, as good as he was 2-3 years ago, but he's still a very, very good safety, deserving of his pay. And then you have, of course, a rotation of different guys. Probably going to be Ashton Davis as the season goes on. Right now, it's Ifatu. Not going to be able to pronounce his last name. And then Elijah Campbell, not Calais Campbell, Elijah Campbell. So I really like that rotation of safeties that we have there. And I call it a rotation of safeties because I think we might be better off rotating them than to have one stick next to Minka the entire game. Obviously, you want your safeties to kind of be like together and not so you have that good communication. You don't necessarily want a rotation there. But I like a rotation there, me personally. That being said, I think the Dolphins can do really well this season. I think there's a chance that we can go anywhere from 7-9 to 11-6. Like I think that there's just a wide range of outcomes and possibilities. I think that our backup quarterbacks are way better than what we've had the last 2 years. Now, given 2023, Tua played the entire season, I think he's going to make that an emphasis again. I think he's going to play the entire season again. And honestly, if he doesn't, as much as I love Tua, we might have to look elsewhere. And I love Tua. And if you stuck with me to this point, I'm just ranting. I love Tua. I am a big Tua believer. And I'm actually going to go into it in another video of how I think this offense changes a little bit as we're going into the season to more benefit Tua. And not in the way you think. But that being said, if Tua can't play a full 17 and can't be there for a playoff game, we got to have some serious conversations about, like, what are we going to do? Because in 2020, that Ravens game was in 2021. Because 2022 is when McDaniel took over. So, forgive me there. 2022, we had a tremendous team. We went, I think we won 9 games. We made the playoffs. And then we faced the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo with Skylar Thompson starting at quarterback. And if Tua played that game, we win that game. It's just as simple as our defense played lights out. Our offense played very decent. And we hung in there with one of the best football teams in the NFL that day. And we went toe-to-toe with them with Skylar Thompson, who is no longer on this roster. He was a rookie 7th-round pick. He was the quarterback picked right before Brock Purdy. You can compare him to Brock Purdy all you want. Brock Purdy shouldn't have been a 7th-round pick. He shouldn't have been Mr. Irrelevant. It just is what it is. Skylar Thompson should not have been in that game. He was a deer in headlights, and he still played somewhat decent. We catered to him a lot. Our playmakers made plays. If Tua plays that game, we win that game. 2023 rolls around. We have a very good start to the season. We have a hold on the number 1 seed in the entire NFL. And the entire NFL just in our hands, right there, ready to go. And Xavier Howard gets hurt. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips go down. Cameron Good also goes down. On offensive line, Teron Armstead was always in and out of there. Lester Lester Cotton as our left guard? He was down. Or no, Lester Cotton ended up being our. He went down too, but he was our backup guard. Who was our starting guard? I don't remember. Connor Williams tore his ACL. Robert Hunt had a hamstring issue the entire end of the season. Austin Jackson missed the end of the season. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill were both banged up. Waddle dealing with various chest injuries because Tua threw him in traffic and hospital balls, and then Tyreek Hill because of a high ankle sprain. You know, Alec Ingold was dealing with an injury. Mostert was 20 touchdown season. Like, you can't run behind 5 backups. You just can't. Then you go into 2024, and once again, you lose Robert Hunt. So now you don't have that right guard. Now you have Liam Eichenberg there instead. Austin Jackson, once again, goes down. Tua goes down. Teron Armstead, once again, in and out of there. Our left guard, we had a rotation of different guys in there throughout the season. Just a constant competition at left guard. The only strong suit was Aaron Brewer, and, you know, that's why he's a captain this year. So it's a completely different vibe, as well as also Jalen Phillips last year, and Bradley Chubb missed the entire year, as well as Jalen Ramsey just didn't give a flying, you know what, about the team last year, and neither did Javon Holland, although he missed the end of last year. Or no, he missed the end of 2023. That was another one that missed the end of 2023. And he didn't give a shit about the team last year either. And, you know, just our secondary fell apart. Just is what it is. And we still had a pretty decent defense. So it's just, it sucks, you know. It does. But going into this season, it just feels a little bit different than the past few seasons. It feels like there is a push for that culture change and getting those higher name, higher caliber players out that were the problem as far as, you know, setting examples. And, you know, now you get to put guys in positions that you believe in and aren't paying, you know, this tremendous amount of money to. So I like the guys. I like the direction. I like the people in the locker room. I still like McDaniel. And I'm just hoping this season goes well, and I'm hoping Tua stays healthy. I'm hoping the team can stay relatively healthy. I know we've had a bunch of injuries already, but hopefully it's just going to be the team that if we get injured, it's probably going to lead to a lot of firings. But I think that was also an emphasis on Chris Greer with how he got younger. You know, younger players usually heal quicker, don't get injured as often, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's my take. I think that this team is different. If you stuck with me this long, holy crap, I love you. And leave the hand heart emoji in the comments if you stuck around this far. Love y'all. Deuces.